What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another live edition of 410 Sports Talk. Whiskey, what's going on? I don't know what's up with that last comment, but uh, I don't know what that means. But what's going on, everybody? Lindsay, how you doing? Baltimore, get up. Alec, what's going on? Dan Wald, appreciate you coming out. Cam 52, Steve Mo, we're here. Lisa Ann, I'm here. Jimmy will be here shortly. DK is in the background, making us all seem smarter. But I appreciate you guys coming out. We got a lot to talk about tonight. We got a guest coming on at 8:30 to help us learn more about new Raven Trenton Simpson. Certainly curious to get to know him a little bit better along with everybody who's new to the team. But I think he's interesting because of the stuff surrounding Patrick Queen, which I guess is where we'll start. Now, what's going on, Michael? Appreciate you coming out draft night. What's going on, Flo Nose? Let's get it. Nomadic, finally catching a live. Yeah, so the news breaks as really no surprise. Pat Queen's option will not be picked up by the Ravens. So he's going into his final season as a Raven. Yeah, Marco, Jimbo's on his way. But yeah, he's going into his final season as a Raven. Pat Queen will make, let's see how much he's got a cap number of $3.86 million. And this will be his final season as a Baltimore Raven with, it looks like, his replacement now in the building. So my question to you guys is, what do you think they should do? Some people say they should trade him and get what they can. And others say, no, let's let him keep balling out next to Roquan and let the young man learn behind both those guys who were playing at an extremely high level towards the end of the season. And that's kind of the side I'm on. I want to see the Ravens. Let's take advantage of the magic that was between Queen and Roquan last season, and let's let them guys keep doing their thing. And I think they should allow Trenton Simpson to learn behind those guys. I mean, look, this guy's got he's got every physical tool you can imagine. I mean, you look at his physical testing at the combine. I mean, you're not going to find a linebacker with much better. I mean, this guy ran a 4.3. Let me see. Let me look him up. I got it right in front of me here. So just to get an idea of the type of athlete you're getting. Now, of course, he's not just an athlete. He's got to be a good football player, but he's 6'2", 235. They talk about him having almost 0% body fat. So at 6'2", 235, this isn't a guy who's carrying around any extra weight at 235. So that's 235 of muscle. He's got 32 3/8 arm length, which is fantastic for a linebacker. 10 1/4 hand, big old hands on him, which of course you want in a tackler who's going to be grabbing people and pulling them to the ground. He ran a 4.43 40-yard dash. And on top of 4.43, he had 25 reps with that arm length, 25 reps at 2 1/4. His short shuttle's off the charts. I mean, this guy's change of direction is going to be fantastic. Just imagining him next to Roquan Smith for the next 4 years at the very least, man, that's a pretty exciting thought. But I'm of the thought process. Let's keep Pat Queen this year. Let him walk next year. Get the comp pick that they certainly will get. What's going on, Orion? What's going on, Ravens win? Jason, appreciate you coming out. But yeah, let's let him ball out, get the likely 4th round pick that they're going to probably get for him next year when he leaves. And at that point, hopefully Trenton Simpson will be ready for the more expanded role. And Pat Queen won't be needed. I think they look at Trenton Simpson as maybe an upgraded version of what we've seen from Patrick Queen. Certainly his ability to cover, I think, is what's going to set him apart in this draft. Because if you're going to be a linebacker in this league, you can't just be a thumper in the run game. You can't be Josh Bynes of the world. It's going to be tough to get on the field much past the guaranteed rundown. So this guy, I think his ability to run with the run with the running backs out of the backfield, run with the tight ends, which are becoming more and more athletic. I mean, just look at the tight ends in the AFC. Look around. I mean, they're everywhere. So you better have a guy who's an answer for it. And I don't think you have that if you try and put a corner on them or a small safety. Now, if you got Kyle Hamilton, 6'4", maybe it's a little different. But Connor says, hey, guys, how do you guys feel about Adrian Amos? Yeah, I'm an Adrian Amos fan. He's from Baltimore. He's a vet, been around, seen it all. My only question would be, what does it take to get him here? I look at him, and correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I looked at Adrian as more of a strong safety at this point. But if you guys think as more of I always looked at him as more of a free safety, but maybe he can move down as more of a strong now. And if that were the case, they bring Adrian Amos in to play strong safety and kind of replace the Chuck Clark role. It would allow Kyle Hamilton to stay in that role, that star role they always call it, where he was the nickel corner, and oftentimes would shadow tight ends and nickel receivers as well. And he was fantastic. He was the top rated safety in the National Football League, free or strong, because of the fact that Mike McDonald put him in a role where he could really take advantage of what he's good at. So if they bring in Amos, that would allow him to do that. Now that seems like it might be a little bit of luxury, because they did draft Kyle Hamilton with the 14th overall pick. And so you'd like to think that he can really play any role that you might ask of him when it comes to the safety position, if you're picking a guy that high. But I wouldn't be mad if the Ravens, kicked the tires and seen what it would at least cost. I think that would be interesting here. Why does it say Amos is already on the team? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I know my guy knows his stuff. So Sean, there we go. Okay, Sean, there we go. You got me confused. Like, what? They signed Amos. Hey, Jimbo.
What's up?
Welcome. How you doing, dude?
Good, man. Hanging in there.
Good. You jumped right in live, baby. We're here.
No.
Dude, you know what I did? When I set up the lobby earlier, I accidentally set it for 7:30. So some of these nice people have been sitting in the chat since 7:30.
Oh, geez.
So I was like, I can't make them wait anymore. I got to go.
Fair enough.
So that's why
Fair enough.
To jump in. But how you doing? You having a good night? You ready for the show?
Yeah, I'm ready to get into it, man. Obviously, there's a ton of great stuff to talk about with the Ravens. Yep. And you probably already mentioned we're going to have a guest on, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that'll be awesome as well. And we're going to keep trying to collect these guests as we go to give you guys, as Glenn probably mentioned, insight into these draft picks. But yeah, no, I'm excited about it. We got a ton to talk about tonight. The biggest thing we got to talk about, I don't know if he's in the chat, but Don, we missed you.
Yeah,
Don
man.
C. We missed you at the draft, man. You were probably super busy, as you probably are. And we missed all you guys, to be honest. All you guys that couldn't make it out there. But and we hope to see more of you next time. But yeah, man, it was an absolute blast. And let's get into it. What's on the docket, my man? I know I got some things I want to talk about, but DK is telling me to read this. Can someone tell me why we keep drafting these injured players? I get that we draft for the future, but the future is now. I think he's referencing Voorhees. Who else was injured?
Yeah.
Just Voorhees?
I believe that's who he's talking about.
Well, Is there someone else? If there's someone else, DK, put it up on the thing. Oh. Anyway, the thing about Voorhees to me, Glenn, I don't know what you mentioned, is that Eli, the biggest thing is that it was a 7th round pick. We're not talking about a top end pick. And it's a guy who's rated as a 2nd or 3rd round pick. So, and Ajabo from last year, I guess that's another point. But ultimately what it's about is getting value. And who's the center, the kid out of Alabama? He plays for the Eagles now, right? That kid that we really liked. Landon,
center?
wasn't that his name?
Landon Dickerson.
Yeah, Landon, something like. But
he plays guard now. But yeah,
right. He plays guard now because of Jason Kelsey. I'm assuming once Jason decides to retire, they're going to then have a great center in this kid as he slides into center. That kid he had been hurt how many times, but and so therefore he slid in the draft. But the Eagles took a bit of a flyer on him based on his original positioning. And look, we traded back in the 7th and gave up a future 6th, which could mean nothing if you're talking about Voorhees, who is graded a 2nd, 3rd rounder. So I think it's a justified move. It's a gamble. Look, drafting is a crapshoot. Rashad Bateman was never injured in college.
Yeah,
never had a major injury. So I mean, it goes both ways,
Yeah, no, I think this was the steal of the draft. That guy. I mean,
yeah,
you get a 2nd round talent in the 7th round. I think that's an absolute anything you get out of the 7th round is a bonus. You expect nothing out of a 7th round pick. Absolutely nothing. And yeah, with the Ajabo, I agree. I mean, they got a top 15 talent in the 2nd round who, let's be honest, nowadays, You have concern. I get why there's concern with Voorhees, because Voorhees, that's not his only injury. He's had other injuries.
Sure.
So, you do get concerned. So that's valid. But as far as Ajabo, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, I should say, that's his only real injury in college. So with modern medicine, I think he'll be back to normal and better than ever this year because of the strength and conditioning he'll be in, all this time. But Marco G says PQ and next year, 2nd round pick for Jair Alexander. I do like Jair Alexander. I just don't, I think people are, I don't know if anyone wants PQ like that. Like,
right.
That sounds like it would be nice, and it would help the Ravens to dump some of that salary if you're bringing in Jair, but I don't know if they would be down for that.
Yeah, just put salt on the wound. He already blocked us anyway, Glenn.
PQ? That's right. Yeah.
It's too late.
Yeah. That's
Tanya was like, now don't be a bully on Twitter.
What, and go after him?
No. She said apparently, she was like, you better not have been being a bully.
Well,
like, when in my life have I ever been a bully?
Yeah, I think he may have heard maybe when you were done with him, with one of your rants.
Maybe.
Because you had a few rants where you were done with him.
Yeah, well, dude, I mean, when you're the champion of arm tackling and you play middle linebacker.
There we go. This is why we're blocked.
Like, just stop. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Like, why did you switch to the position? Stay at running back, dude. Like, if you're scared to you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't take on the name of Ray Lewis Jr. donned by your teammates and then arm tackle people.
First of all, who told him?
Lamar Jackson called him that.
Blasphemy, Lamar.
Yeah, little premature if I've ever heard it.
You don't call anyone. I don't care who they are. Ray Lewis Jr.
I don't know. We might be able to call Roquan that.
You know what? That's the only person. That's the only damn person. And yeah, John, you're so right about Simpson. He does have issues where he won't always wrap tackle, but those are issues in college, not after 3 years in the pros still doing it. I think that's more so Jimmy's thing. It's like you need to see growth there. But he did have it. He did have some last year next to Roquan. There's no doubt about it. But
I just think at the position you have to be imposing. Ultimately,
yeah,
I think
100%.
You have to be imposing. That's what it is. Sometimes the tone, sometimes the physical manifestation, but you have to be imposing. So ultimately, it is what it is. So to the point, though, I agree with you. I don't know if that's enough.
Yeah.
And I haven't been following the Jair Alexander thing. How hungry or how thirsty are they to get off of that contract?
See, I don't think they are that thirsty. I think they want to have a decent team around their young quarterback.
Right.
And so why would you want to get rid of your best corner? I don't think so. So, but I could be wrong. I'm curious. Do you guys know? I'm trying to find it now. Did we put the poll up? There was a list of the available free agent corners, and I kind of wanted to touch on that, but I'm not able to find it now. I know Marcus Peters, Anthony Averett, Rock Ya-Sin. Those were the top 3 that most people were linking. What would you think about? Because look, the Ravens come out, they get Caillou Blue Kelly out of Stanford, who I think has a chance to be a good player. But
yep.
I think the Ravens need to add a veteran or maybe 2 to this cornerback room. What would you think about an Anthony Averett return?
Yeah, actually, it's funny because I put up a tweet today asking what people would prefer between Anthony Averett, Marcus Peters, and Rock Ya-Sin. A lot of people said 2 of the 3 in Anthony Averett and Marcus Peters. But if I can only have one, obviously I'd go Marcus. Now you're talking specifically about Anthony. I would like it because I feel like you know what you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
And having a known commodity sometimes is while the unknown commodity could be better, it's still the lack of assurance that causes concern.
Yeah. And
so for me, just having a guy over there, obviously that Marlon trust, they've played together for a long time, played together in college, all those things. So I'm okay with it. I think that's a decent signing, depending on now I can't remember, what did he get from the Raiders? Is he still under contract with them? I can't remember if it was a 1 year or more.
I think it was a 1 year deal.
He's a free agent as it stands.
I believe so.
So ultimately the numbers come into play, but I would like it. I would like having him back.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's got continuity with the room. They all get along. And I thought he was a pretty good player. Look, there's chances are if you got Marlon Humphrey and you got Marcus Peters, they're not going to throw it to those guys very often. So yeah, Anthony Averett had a lot of targets, but I thought he hung in there. And as a receiver, I mean, as a cornerback, you're going to give up catches. It's really more so how you respond to those than if you give up any at all. Let's see here. Sean says PAs, back-to-back plays. PAs. Maybe PQs, because A and Q are right next to it. PQs, back-to-back plays against Cleveland, and his interception against Pittsburgh are some of the best moments in 4 years. Am I correct? Yeah, I think that's what he's referring to. The leaping back interception where he skies it. He made some fantastic plays. I mean, there's no doubt about it, but they can't pay 2 inside linebackers. They can't even pay the 5th-year option.
Yeah, ultimately it's about peaks and valleys, right? So, like, what is the price you pay for those awesome plays? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What are you giving up when it's 3rd and 5 and his helmet is on backwards because he cannot cover anyone in space? And all they're going to do is dump it to the back, and they're not going to be in the same stratosphere. And then when he gets his hands on him, the guy's going to gain another 8 yards because he's going to be trying to rip him down with his arm. By his arm, excuse me. So,
I guess the point is, if you look up Matt Elam's highlights, you'll find Ravens highlights. But overall, he wasn't a great player. So, yeah, you'll find highlights.
Now, PQ is better than Matt Elam, but I understand your point. Like, even Matt Elam has highlights,
Matt Elam has highlights. Right. So, of course, a 4-year
anybody
starter
can look good in highlights.
That was my point. Exactly.
Yeah.
Even the worst players on our team, even the busts, have highlights.
Right. Yeah. Brashad Perryman's got some highlights here. I'm guessing somewhere in the vault.
You'd have to dig, but I'm sure there's a couple. Yeah. I'm not saying that those two are the same players. I hope I didn't make that. Let's see. Alex says, hi, 410. Here's a question for you. The 49ers pick Moody with the 3rd. Yeah, that was shocking. And Sebastian Janikowski went 17th overall in the 2000 draft. Where would you draft Justin Tucker knowing he's going to be the GOAT? First round.
Really?
First round.
First round, huh?
First round. Knowing if I knew he was going to be the greatest kicker of all time, first round. Look, a kicker is too big of a weapon in this game.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And he could be your kicker for 20 damn years.
Yeah, it's just crazy in my head to like wrap, even though he's the greatest of all time, still it's like hard to remove the kicker.
Yeah, well, if you knew he was going to be the GOAT, because let's be honest, there's been some swings and misses in the first round. Kyle Bowler being one of them. Let's see, Mark Clayton. We got, Brashad Perryman. Yeah, I mean, I'd take him over Ben Grubbs, who was a first-round pick. You go down the list.
Yeah. The longevity is also a good point. And knowing you play in the AFC North where weather is an impact, knowing that he does well historically in the weather is also a big deal as well. So, yeah, I think it's fair. First round, take him. I mean, if you already know, if you're assured.
Yeah, if you're assured that he's going to be that Justin Tucker, I think you take him. Let's see here. Sai says, if they don't re-sign MP, what would y'all want to see them do at corner? Not going to lie. Ain't too familiar with Blue Kelly, but at least his name is fire. Yeah. Shout out. And his father, Brian Kelly, won a Super Bowl with Tampa, was a longtime vet in the league. So he certainly comes from a long lineage of football players. Let's see. Shout out to Pedro who put this list together. This is the one I was talking about.
Yeah.
You can see Marcus Peters. A lot of people were hoping for Shaq Griffin to be put opposite Marlon Humphrey and kind of thought about what that would look like.
Yep.
I think you could get 2 of these guys. I don't see any reason why you don't bring 2 of these guys in. I could see it Anthony Averett coupled with any of the top 3. My ideal version would be Marcus Peters and like 2 of the top 3 guys, Rock Ya-Sin or Shaq Griffin, but I don't know if that's realistic. What's your thoughts on this list?
Yeah, my preference would be Marcus and Anthony because once again, we know them. They know us. Yeah, sure. It would be, well, at least for Anthony, it would be a different, defensive coordinator, but he knows McDonald because he's been here for a while before he was the DC and went off to Michigan. And ultimately he knows the head coach, the culture and expectations here in Baltimore. So those would be my preference. I know a lot of people do not like Anthony Averett, but I just like a guy that fights, man. Guy that gets up, fights, competes, is in the play, tries. And that's part of I'm not going to belabor it. That's part of my frustration with PQ. I just think sometimes he leaves stuff on the field. So I feel like Anthony has never robbed us of effort.
Yeah.
And I like that. And because usually when you do that long enough, you end up in the right place at the right time and momentum starts to turn in your way. So that would be my preference. I would be interested to see if they make a play at 2 of them because we still haven't seen the official numbers on Lamar's deal because it hasn't been signed. So like what the cap hit will be this year. And, I'm waiting for all that to come out because hopefully it gives us room, but we're just not 100% sure yet.
Yeah, and then there's still moves they can make. They could still restructure Ronnie. They could do something with Marlon's deal. They could create.
Yeah, ultimately, I guess if they really wanted to, they could, right?
Yeah, really, in as much space as they need. Like they could really create a good amount if they found a guy that would deserve it.
Yeah,
they could make some things happen. So I just know one thing. Even on years where we thought we were so deep at corner, we're like, man, we got to cut some really good corners here. Injuries hit us that year, and boom, you're without. So I just don't want to go in this season relying on young guys and B on guys who've been hurt. Which is a scary thing. So do you look at Marcus Peters as a guy who's now like, do you deem him as like an injury risk because he did come back last year and play pretty much the whole year?
That's what I was gonna say. No, because outside of the ACL, I don't recall Marcus having a ton of previous injuries. Look, Marcus is a football player. Marcus Peters is the kid in the neighborhood that you don't know, and you pick him like 5th or 6th, and he's unassuming. He has like a beater on, right? He's not yoked. Like he's not, but Marcus just plays football, has incredible instincts, and guys like that just have a way of always being on the field. 2 years ago was historically wrong, but was an anomaly there, but I don't consider him an injury risk. Like he just shows up and plays football, man. He's always there on Sunday. That's just Marcus Peters. And he's going to be there when you're playing in the backyard. He's going to be there when you're playing at the barbecue. And he's going to be there when you're playing in the parking lot. Like that's just what Marcus Peters does. Period.
And he brings swag to those around him. He brings confidence to everyone
and
around
intelligence.
him.
Marcus knows football like, he's in the upper echelon, in my opinion, of his ability to analyze a play, break it down, guess it right. We've heard plenty of people saying that between the ears, he's similar to an Ed Reed. Right now, similar. I'm just saying similar. I'm not saying he's Ed.
And there's ability to dissect the game
and tape
and all that stuff. Yeah, that's what I heard too.
Shoot. Anyway, I don't consider him an injury risk. Do you? Like, how do you?
No, absolutely not. Because he came back last year. And look, people are down on him for maybe his performance last year. Let's remember he's coming back from a pretty serious injury, and I think there's no reason to believe he's not going to be better this year than he was last year. Now that he's another full year removed from that pretty rough injury. I get excited thinking about what a full year of healthy Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey could be on opposite sides. Not to say you're guaranteed that, but that's a pretty scary group. And then you can sprinkle the guys in around him, because what I'm seeing is that Caillou Blue Kelly might, at least from the testing numbers with his splits, his 10-yard, his change of direction, coupled with his physicality and his lack of top-end speed, he might be a candidate to get kicked in. Even though he's an outside guy, he does have some reps. I saw actually somebody posted a few videos of him on the inside. And if you just look at the numbers, he could move inside. So I think they definitely need to add to the outside group. We got tons of inside help, but I do think that they still need to address that. That's why Peters is the top of my list. But I want to talk a little bit more about the wide receiver position really quickly, because our guest is coming up here soon to talk about Trenton Simpson and what he could mean to this defense. But people are still critical of the Ravens wide receiver core, Jimbo. I'm still hearing.
Show them to me.
Exactly. I'm gonna let you know what they're saying, because it absolutely. It's just never ending. I don't know if the Ravens could ever do right, but Odell Beckham is broken down, washed, and hasn't been relevant since 2018, is what I've been hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Flowers is Marquise Brown 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
Bateman's going to get hurt. Duvernay's going to get hurt. And then Prochet and Tylon are trash, is what I'm hearing from, the group of fans that just they call themselves Ravens fans, but it just doesn't sound like it when you talk to them. What do you think about those still being critical of this receiver group?
Sure. So let me just break this down one by one. Odell Beckham was going to be the Super Bowl MVP before he got hurt. To say he's washed, say he's injury prone is one thing. To say he's washed is another thing, because the dude is in a league of his own when it comes to athletic ability. He's a freak of nature. Like, I would argue that there might not be anyone in the NFL that is as athletic or more athletic than Odell Beckham, just as a raw athlete. So to say he's washed would be like, oh, here's Odell, here's everyone else. So maybe he's here now. Okay. If you're talking athletically, right? Number 2, Zay Flowers being Marquise Brown. No one actually knows what he's going to be in the NFL. Number 2, watch his tape in college. They play so much different. All Marquise Brown did was play in the Big 12 where no one plays defense. Like, no one plays defense. And Marquise Brown was running around butt naked down the field on like half his highlights. And we know who Marquise Brown was. Like, I don't think anyway. So that's unfair to say until you see it. If you knew that, you would be a GM in a front office somewhere, because all of a sudden you would have the vision of, the ability to see into the future. Bateman, I get, but I don't consider these feet injuries. They don't concern me as much of a, like, I would bet, I would put a lot of money on the statistics behind re-injuring of the feet in comparison to a knee. I feel like it doesn't generally happen as often.
Right.
Just my thought. So I'm not too concerned about either of them because they had the same injury. But look, I want to get into this. We're going to do a whole video on this, Glenn, because I want to talk about the wide receiver room and the unwarranted criticism of the Ravens at this point, when a lot of people thought they were just going to add one guy and not be able to overhaul the room. And no one's even talking about Nelson Aguilar. Right.
Yeah.
So he's I'm saying Nelson Aguilar's number 1 sounds terrible, but Nelson Aguilar as a 4 sounds awesome.
Duvernay's still on this team.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So there's a lot of depth there. So I'm excited about what they've been able to do. No knock on the Ravens for trying their best. But Glenn, I think that you should give your best WWD intro to our guest here.
Oh, yeah, let's do it. Oh, thank you, John. Okay. All right. We have a guest, like I mentioned earlier, that's going to tell us all about the Ravens' new linebacker, Trenton Simpson, out of Clemson. Of course, the news breaking today, or was it yesterday, of the Ravens not picking up Pat Queen's option. So now I'm really hopeful that I'm not going to mess this gentleman's name up. But I want to welcome to the program John Blau.
Is it Blau or Blue?
You got it right. Yeah, it's Blau, like cow.
Yes, I got it. Okay. I appreciate who covers the Clemson football team, and I appreciate you joining us, John. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Excited that the buildup of the draft is finally come to fruition. We see the Ravens' new picks. Some people were expecting the Ravens to add a bunch. They only add one. They pretty much stand pat, and they get Trenton Simpson in the 3rd round. So, John, one thing we always ask about is, because we watch, everyone can turn on the highlights and they can redraft profile breakdowns, but John, I want to know what they're getting as a guy. Like, what type of teammate, what type of a person are they getting? Because the Ravens seem to always emphasize getting good guys on their team, much to the chagrin of some players or some fans who wish they got more dogs, as they like to say it. But what type of teammate are they getting in Trenton Simpson?
Yeah, fantastic person, if you're going to start there. He's the child of a U.S. Army Ranger who spent like a decade overseas fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan, was basically raised by his mother, Deanna Ford, but is very much like a yes, sir, no, sir type of person when he answers questions. Just very polite. Had a great GPA in school. I think he had like a 3.6, 3.7, just because his dad actually didn't have a great time in school, and really emphasized that with Trenton. He made sure he was very disciplined. He got good grades. I think his first semester at Clemson, he had a 4.0. So, I mean, just a guy who was very much about the details, a very, very humble kid for the most part. I mean, he'll say some things. I think I saw in his introductory press conference, he said, I'm going to be one of the greats in Baltimore, and, we're going to win championships and things like that. He will say some confident things, but he's a pretty solid human being, I guess. I would start there.
That's awesome. And I agree with Glenn. I mean, when the Ravens talk about their breakdown of the board and their process, obviously character is at the top of their list. So I'm sure they checked a lot of boxes. My question, now that we got that out of the way, is I want to talk a little bit about you saw this much more than we did, or a lot of the folks that are watching or listening to the show, is what was the utilization of him in their defensive scheme The only reason I'm asking that is because here in Baltimore, there's two things that are going on. Obviously, with the athletic ability that's been talked about with him, people are getting really excited. And our defensive coordinator, Mike McDonald, has a way of using really versatile guys. So love to know a little bit how he was deployed at Clemson and how he was utilized.
Yeah, so for 2 out of the 3 years, he was used as what we call the strong side linebacker, which is a nickel position. And so that's basically a hybrid safety / linebacker spot, plays on the edge. We'll cover the tight end, a slot receiver a lot. Sometimes we'll be even all the way in the back end at safety. I mean, they'll throw them all over the place. He was really dynamic in that spot. I think he had, like 18 tackles for loss in 2 years, had about 10 sacks in those 2 years, playing that nickel position. In his junior year, because of the way he's built, he's 6'3", he got up to about 240 pounds. The idea was to slide him inside to that weak side linebacker spot, because he thought that'd be the best projection for him to the NFL. He had some issues in terms of reading, the box. He wasn't quite as dynamic, not as many tackles for loss, not as many sacks. And they eventually moved him back to that nickel spot towards the end of the season. They found another linebacker, Barrett Carter, who's a guy who's going to be drafted probably soon in a year or two. He could play the will, so they decided to move Trent back to that Sam nickel spot. So when he's in the edge, when he's in space, he's incredibly dynamic because he's an explosive guy. He can blitz, he can rush the passer, he can be incredibly disruptive when you're using him in space. It's when you get him in the box, that's where sometimes he has some issues in terms of stacking, shedding, being in the gap, figuring out what gap it is, release from the blocker, things like that. That's where he's still developing. So he's an interesting case because, when he's in that hybrid spot, which he had been for a long time for the first 2 years, and then towards the end of his junior year, very dynamic. When he was put into that weak side role, which I think is what Clemson thought his best projection was for the NFL, it was a little bit of a struggle. He's still developing there.
Well, I just have a quick follow-up here, Glenn.
Sure.
I'm sure you're going to follow up on a lot of that stuff as well, but because I have a lot of questions off what you just mentioned. First of all, I just want to say I think the Ravens now I understand more about why the Ravens took him. Some people had him higher than where they took him. Some people had him lower. A lot of people were just kind of confused by the pick. And I think it now makes a little more sense, at least to me, as to why the Ravens valued him the way they did, because I'm assuming his best tape was in the position that the Ravens want him to play anyway. But really, another guy that came out of Clemson a few years ago, Isaiah Simmons is like a crazy athlete. So just athletically, like everyone's talking about Simpson's athleticism. When you think about Isaiah and you think about Trenton, like, is that a different stratospheres here, or athletically speaking, is there some comparison to make?
Oh yeah. I mean, they brought him here. And I think Trenton came to Clemson because he thought he could play that Isaiah Simmons type role in that nickel spot. And so definitely has similar athleticism. Again, I think if you look at the combine numbers of 4.43, 40, jumped a 40-inch vertical. He's an insane athlete. I mean, he's absolutely insane in terms of his explosiveness. It's just about, again, seeing so that you can use that speed is kind of where he's still figuring things out. But in terms of like the athletic traits, very similar. I think that was kind of the idea bringing him here again. It was similar to Isaiah Simmons. He could play a little bit of that role in space as a nickel hybrid guy all over the field.
Yeah, now at 6'3", 235, I've seen some flashes of some pass rush. What do you think if they were to bring him, down the outside and ask him to just go after the quarterback? Do you think they could, he could develop some pass rush? Because a lot of people are critical, say, well, he doesn't have really moves as a pass rusher. He wins on athleticism. Do you think he could develop those moves at this level under the tutelage of a guy that, Chuck Smith, who a lot of people are calling the pass rush guru, who the Ravens just brought in, which I know Ravens fans are really excited about? Do you see Simpson able to develop that pass rush and maybe become a force on the edge?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the NFL, obviously, like a guy like Hassan Reddick, not too different of a build. I think, Trenton does, again, have that explosiveness. He's going to win a lot with speed. He's going to be able to get around the edge, and he's got an ability to use that leverage and get to quarterbacks that way. But, in terms of the hand fighting, the ability to have counters, things like that, That's something he's definitely going to have to develop. I mean, like you said, I think at the college level was able to win mostly with that speed, blitzing at times when the offense wasn't necessarily prepared for it. And he's able to use that explosiveness and get into the backfield and things like that. So, yeah, I wouldn't rule it out, that he can obviously improve in terms of, developing moves, being more of a sophisticated pass rusher. But again, when he was in space, when he was on the edge, rushing the passer, he was very effective at it. Again, I think he had 0 sacks through the first 8 games of the season. They moved him back to that nickel role. He had 2 sacks in the first game he played. And then he had a couple tackles for loss. I mean, basically all of his tackles for loss last year came when they moved him back. He's just very, very dynamic when he gets to play in that role out in space.
I like to hear that. And I tell you what, Glenn, I think you'll agree with me that some of that stuff in the box and the breaking down the play and shedding and things, I'm sure that the guy next to him is certainly going to help him out. And Roquan Smith, who seems to have a knack for doing a lot of those things. The other question I had for you was really around what it is that you, or not what, but where it is that you were expecting him to get drafted. Were you surprised that he was taken there? Like, how did you value him? And then where did you expect him to go? Was it one of those picks where you were like, oh, whoa, that was a little earlier than you expected? Or is that kind of right around where you expected him to go?
I mean, as a beat reporter, you kind of have no idea. You're reading these mock drafts, and I saw some mock drafts that were putting him in the first round early on. And then, so talking to Todd McShay from ESPN, he was saying, well, I see him as more as a second round pick. So we were thinking probably early second. And when he started sliding the way he did, it was a little surprising. But at the same time, again, as a linebacker, not a lot of linebackers are taken in the first round of the NFL draft. And then also just because of, again, I think Dabo Swinney even said it in his statement, there's a lot of questions of what does he play? What is he? He was going to have to fit a certain system and a team that wanted to use him in a certain way. And so that probably limited the number of teams that were going to be interested at the end of the day. So the Ravens have to probably have a plan for him. I mean, they have to see the skill set and think that it fits something they're planning on doing. And I know, again, Kyle Hamilton, who they got from Notre Dame, I think that's a possibility that he could play kind of that oversized safety that comes into the box. Or, again, we know with Patrick Queen, they didn't pick up his option. Maybe they're going to develop him as that inside guy. But that's something that he definitely needs development. So it kind of makes sense if he's playing that role. And if that's what NFL teams were, hoping he could be when they look at the tape, he's a guy that definitely needs development in that area. So it kind of makes sense in terms of going to the third round and in that sense, I guess.
Yeah. And last question from me, John. John covers Clemson for the Post and Courier. I think his quickest route to getting big time playing, of course, like most rookies, is going to be special teams. I think it's exciting to think a guy with that kind of speed and size combination, because typically to find a guy that fast, you're usually asking your 5th wide out, your 6th wide out, or your 3rd running back to run down and be a gunner. But to imagine a guy 235, 240 with that type of speed running down on kick coverage, that's pretty exciting. So did you see much of him playing special teams, or was his role at Clemson primarily on defense?
Oh yeah, he was a core special teamer. And so that's kind of a plus in terms of him. Again, great athlete. You definitely want him on kick return, or not kick return, kick off, in terms of, again, that 4.4 40 speed, again, down there, and incredibly explosive. I mean, when he lines a guy up, I mean, he hits him pretty hard. I mean, he's a guy who's definitely not afraid to bring it. He's a big guy, explosive guy. You're going to see him, again, on kickoff team. I would expect him to be on punt team because he's a guy who's done it before. So he absolutely could be a special teamer in his rookie season.
Now, I'm excited for this kid, and I think he's going to fit in perfectly, just like you said, John, because we've been talking about what they're going to do with this Kyle Hamilton role that the Ravens defense really started humming last year when he kind of stepped into that nickel and really started to take ownership of it. And if there's a lot of overlap there between what he did and what Trent can do. That's really exciting. John, we appreciate you coming on, taking the time out tonight. Why don't you let folks know where it is that they can find what you're working on, where they can follow you on social media, things like that? That'd be great.
So Twitter handles at John underscore Blau, so JON underscore B as in boy LAU, and then write for the Post and Courier, obviously, in Charleston, South Carolina. So that's www.postandcourier.com.
Awesome.
Cool. Thanks
thank
so
you so much
time,
for your
John.
time. Big shout out to you, John.
Yeah,
Thank
appreciate you coming on with us short notice. Thank you so much. And got right back to me. So hopefully we'll talk again someday, John. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
No
Thanks, John.
Thanks.
Have a good one.
Nice. Awesome. So, I mean, all those things sound encouraging. I mean,
makes a lot of sense now, right? Like, that's exactly why we get this type of insight.
Yep.
Because, like, dude, I'm not watching Clemson.
Role.
Right. We're not beat writers in Clemson. We're not going to try and act like we are, right?
Yep. He's the guy who's brought in to play the Pat Queen role to cover. I mean, look, just imagine your nickel. You can keep two linebackers on the field and not have to worry about being exposed and giving up gashes in the run game because you got, a small safety at your linebackers. You can have legitimately two linebackers on the field for most plays. And they would have to the only way you come out of your nickel and go into one of your, more sub packages is if they go 5 or 6 wide, because he's just that athletic that he can run with most of your slot receivers. He can run with all the tight ends in the league. I mean, he came in that way. Kyle Hamilton, you've been released to go be a safety. Mm-hmm. You can go do what we drafted you to be. And we got a guy who can play that star role that they always talk about on ESPN. Mel calls it the star role. That safety hybrid linebacker. We got him, Jimbo.
100%, man. I cannot wait to see what this kid can do. And once again, I think it really makes a lot of sense as far as the Ravens' valuation of him, because his best tape is at that position. So glad we picked him up. And it just really shows you how important that having someone like that is to McDonald. Not to maybe not to every defense, but certainly within the construct of his defense. But Don C says, John Blau, great guest, guys, great insight. Thank you so much, Don. We appreciate that. And Don, next time, man, we want to see you, bro. Come on out. We'll definitely be back at Ellie's again. Hopefully you get another shot. Hopefully you're not too busy. I know you're always putting in the hours.
Nana Rave was looking for you, Don.
She was.
She was looking for you. Nana Rave hung out late with your boys, man.
That's right.
She is. You gotta love Nana Rave, man.
Yeah, absolutely. You got lost trying to get there and everything, man. But she's stuck in there, and so cool. We appreciate that greatly. But yeah, I'm excited, man. And like you said, we're gonna keep getting these folks, and make sure we get as many people as we can to get you the best insight we can when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens, because we don't know these guys as well, these beat writers, right?
Yeah.
And I'm excited for it.
And we got more coming.
Yep.
It's not over. I will say. Right. Let's see here. Just want to give some people some exciting timeline news, because now that the draft's over, I just want to let everybody know what is kind of next on the docket. Okay, so OTAs start May 22nd. What are we, TAs, Jimbo? What's up?
Wait, you froze for a second, at least for me. Say that one more time.
I said we're 20 days away from OTAs.
Wow. And you know what the fun part is, Glenn? I'm assuming that Lamar is going to be at like all this stuff, right? I'm assuming.
Oh. Well, I mean, OTAs maybe, but certainly everything after that.
Yeah.
But even that, no, he'll be at OTAs. He'll be at OTAs because it's too many. You got May 22nd, then you have the weekend of the 24th, 25th, then the 30th, then June 1st and 2nd, then June 5th and 6th, and June 8th and 9th. There's no way. And then mandatory minicamp is the 13th, June 13th through the 15th. So
yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't he's got a new offensive coordinator? Got to learn the verb. I mean, just to learn the language of an offense seems like it would be something you'd want to take as much time as possible. And he's got to learn his new weapons.
Yep.
Is Odell Beckham Jr. going to be there? He's getting paid
so.
What's he getting paid from us?
15.
There we go. He better forget. I mean, my good, 15 million guaranteed, up to 18 million if he hits those accelerators.
And him and Monk can like each other, so that's also that's also a plus.
Yeah. It's just Quan says, quick question: did they say Lamar signing bonus? I don't know if we've gotten all the details.
Right, I don't think we've gotten full breakdowns yet because Lamar hasn't come up to sign and do the presser and all those things yet. So we're still waiting on. We've gotten some numbers. We've gotten obviously rough numbers and a general framework, but things like signing bonus, things like the cap
hits.
You're right, cap breakdown per year, things like year one money, all the stuff that we were analyzing before, because all of a sudden ESPN became very detail oriented after everyone started calling him out for getting it absolutely wrong. DK didn't once, just FYI, and he's a one-person crew. Just saying. So look out, ESPN. DK's coming for you.
Now,
but
what'll probably happen is ESPN will call him.
Yeah. Well, look.
He'll be like, bye, DK.
You're gonna have to get it. You're gonna have to buy him out of his contract with us. Okay.
And that's a blood contract.
That's right.
This ain't no money. We
cut
our palms. We're blood brothers.
That's right, dude. You get one of us, you get all of us. It's all or nothing deal, dude.
We're a package deal, man. We're a package deal. But, you know, somebody in the chat here, let me see if I can see who. Baltimore Get Up brings up a good point. How exciting is it to think about some of the rookies from last year and to think about what they could be this season? When you look at Tyler Linderbaum and go, what is he going to look like after this offseason? What is Travis Jones going to look like after this offseason? What are those two going to come back? Because I just remember when Lamar came back after that first offseason and his neck, he had that attachment going from his shoulder to his ear.
Yeah.
And I imagine when we see Linderbaum next, he's going to be he's just going to be yoked up, because I just got to imagine all he's been is in a barn picking up heavy things and putting them down.
You know what's funny to me, Glenn?
What?
I think he's going to look exactly the same. Not that he hasn't been working out.
It's just that's how he is.
That's just him, dude.
But he's going to be
that's what I'm saying.
He's going to be stronger.
Oh, he's definitely going to be stronger.
Yeah.
But he's just a farm boy, dude. He's just, you know what I mean?
He's out back picking up the tractor over his head.
That's right. That's all. He's like, Drago! Right? Yeah, you know? That's right. Picking up the oxen, like the yokes, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Right by the horns.
That's right, dude. Let's see. Steven says, concerned about D-line. Think Metabike and Washington are overrated via in-house writers. I don't know. I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen anything on them being overrated. I don't know if I have concerns. Look, I'll say this. No team can be perfect. Every team is going to have some brighter spots and some darker spots. But I'll also say that Washington has showed improvement every year. He's shown, flashes. Michael Pierce is coming back. I think Metabike is going to continue to improve. And you got Travis Jones. I think you got some guys there. And who knows? Maybe the Ravens got some other guys. Maybe they bring back some familiar faces. Who knows? Maybe old Brandon Williams ends up back in Baltimore. I highly doubt that. But point is that it's not – football season doesn't start till September, so I'm not sure yet. But I think we got a stable there. I'm not concerned.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt they're going to miss Calais Campbell. Any team loses to that guy, they're going to miss him. But, I mean, you got to feel good about Metabike. Every year he's gotten better. Broderick Washington, the fact that you are a Broderick Washington fan is enough said, because when we drafted him,
oh my gosh!
I mean,
dude.
Do you remember?
He converted. Yes,
bashed him.
Yeah, one of my first famous phrases was that he looked the same as he did in 10th grade.
And this guy has come, I mean, miles in his game.
And then he got in trouble for like tearing up some apartment complex. See, there was all that, and I was like, great, get this guy out of here. And all he's done is play good football. How are you a fire hydrant and you bat so many balls? That's impressive, man.
That's crazy. He gets his hand on everything.
Yeah.
And you know, Travis Jones, I think we've only scratched the surface of what he's going to be as a player.
Yep.
So, yeah, let's just wait it out. I mean, and Michael Pierce, look, before he got hurt,
was balling out.
He was a force. And now he could get hurt again. You know, he's had, injury issues over his career, so it's not outside the realm of possibility he gets hurt again. But let's just he's not hurt right now. So let's just hope they can keep it that way. I saw a couple. There we go. Steven says, say we sign a cornerback. What position group do you now consider
offense and
the
defense?
Weakest? I guess he's opening it up to to whatever. What do you consider if they get Marcus Peters, then what? What do you think is then the most necessary add?
Yeah, I guess I would. I don't know if I would say D-line over edge.
Yeah, I think they edge.
I think they need edge help more than they need inside help. So I'm going to go edge.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, Tavius Robinson, I think is a nice player, but he's awfully raw right now. He needs some work. He's a bit of a bull in a china shop in that he's just a big 6'6", can win off of just his freakish athletic ability. Well, he's not going to be able to do that at this level. So he's got to develop pass rush. Got to develop some pass rush skills. Got to. And let's see if he can kind of add to some play strength to his body, because I think they want to kick him inside. They want to put him in that Zadarius Smith role. But he's got to develop more play strength and get some more moves. But Jimbo, it's got to be edge. I mean, there's no guarantees what he's going to do. Ajabo, we have high hopes, but again, no guarantees. Is Justin Houston the only chance? Like, is he the guy, or is there another guy out there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'd love to have Houston. Now, if I'm not mistaken, he'd be at a $3.5 million cap hit, because, would go up like, I think, another 10% from last year, or, however that works. I think those numbers are right. But it would be nice to have Justin, but, we shouldn't narrow our focus. There's certainly going to be other guys out there that are available and that will become available. Who knows what's going to happen after the June 1st stuff, right? Because then you guys probably already know this much better than me, but June 1st cuts, post June 1st cuts are a real thing, because then it doesn't affect the compensatory pick formula. Mm-hmm. And so teams will start offloading veterans then. That's why technically Ezekiel Elliott is still a Dallas Cowboy, even though he's not a Dallas Cowboy. So we'll wait and see what happens there as well. There's still a lot of time left in this offseason.
Who's out there?
Who's that? JPP?
Jadeveon Clowney.
Oh, we've been talking Clowney for years.
Dude, we have been talking Clowney for years, but he's out there.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still...
Yeah, but he always wants he's a mercenary, dude. I'd rather take Houston or JPP.
Yeah, because then you could probably get both of them for the price.
For the price of Clowney.
Now, let me ask you this. Still unsigned right now, Unique Ngakoue.
No. I like Ngakoue, but we already did that experiment. We already did that experiment. Remember how many guys do you remember the Titans when Julius wasn't holding down his block and he was just, and him and Bertier got in a fight?
Yeah.
And Bertier was like, hold him. Mm-hmm. Do something. Because every time you blow past the guy, you leave me out to dry, right?
Yep.
That's all Ngakoue does. Like, sure, he gets great numbers, but once again, at what cost? If you can't stop the run and you're just blowing past people and they're just running to your side every single time. I like this name by Steven. We've talked about this guy for a long time, too. Leonard Floyd.
It's so funny. I'm looking at him right now. I was just getting ready to say, I think I'll get you with this one. So, Leonard Floyd.
Yeah, we've talked about him. Remember? I mean, we've talked about him a couple times.
Well, that's what I mean. I think I'll get you with a name you'll actually like. Because the first two, you were like,
Yeah. Leonard Floyd would be top of my list for sure. Dude's a baller. I've always been a believer in Leonard Floyd.
Now, one last name I got to ask you, because he's a new free agent this season. Frank Clark, cut by the Chiefs, effort to save money. He's got the speed to bend the edge. He's had a history of injuries, but he's still under 30. He'll be 30 by the time the season starts, but he's still sub 30 right now. Any chance they kick the tires on Clark?
Yeah, it all depends on what type of deal he's looking for, don't you think? If he's looking for a more long-term deal, if he's looking for a one-year prove-it deal, it's all going to depend on that deal. I would like to have. He's a bonehead.
Yeah.
In that, now I don't want to get blocked on Twitter, but I mean,
you will.
He's been arrested for, having a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had an Uzi the last time he was arrested.
I'm pretty sure the description was an Uzi.
Yeah, what is this, 007 Goldeneye? Gosh, dude, we in paintball mode or what? Gosh, who was the little short guy in that
I love how your reference is so far back, because you just don't play games anymore.
Do you remember the little short?
I don't think
who was the short dude you could be?
It was Odd Job. It was Odd Job.
Is that his name?
Yeah, Odd Job. That was his name.
That's a terrible name.
And the big guy was Jaws. Oh, yeah, that was my game back in the day, man. That was my game. I used to come out with the double Destovals, I think it was called, the double pistols.
I just liked screen cheating and making people mad.
Yeah, you could always screen cheat back in the day.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, Leonard Floyd, I think, would be a nice add, but I would be fine with them bringing back the combination of JPP and Justin Houston again. I thought they played solid. I just hope that we can capture some of the magic from Justin Houston towards the end of the season, because he kind of expended his
That's
clip.
what I was going to ask.
And there wasn't a whole lot left at the end of the season, which is the risk you run with older guys.
That's what I was going to ask. That's my only concern with going with the Band-Aid and taking some older guys, is that later on in the season, right?
Yeah, I mean, the hope is that if
They know how to
nothing
pace
else,
themselves.
well, they can know how to pace themselves. The coaches play a big role in that, of course, with the rotations, but also that by season's end, maybe Tavius Robinson is more ready to help participate and can help a little bit more. And maybe Ajabo at that point will have his game develop to the point where he'll be more efficient. The young guy's got to step up, bottom line.
Yeah, period. End of story. I'll tell you what, you know who'd be a good pickup? Good edge rusher based on
Who's
his
that?
build? Dylan Brooks, baby. I don't know if he's getting a job in the NBA next year. And I tell you what, he's built like a linebacker.
Dude, it's so funny.
I don't know if
by
he can
the way-
handle the physicality, though.
Mountcastle just 2-run bomb into the bullpen. They go down. O's go down 3-0 against the Orioles in the first inning.
Wait,
It's
you said
now-
O's go down against the Orioles.
I mean the Royals. The O's go down against the Royals in the first inning, 3-0. Current score right now, 7-3 O's.
Dang.
Yeah. Mountcastle just went ding dong, left center field into the bullpen. Shout out to the O's, man.
From
They
the
are
home plate?
for real.
From the home plate to the castle, baby.
You know what? They are for real. They're ready to compete this year, Jimbo.
Bro, you still got that stock in the O's in symbol?
I do.
Dude, you know what? I got a bone to pick with them. They don't sponsor us anymore, but let me tell you what. I actually texted their founder the other day. You know why?
Why?
The day after the draft, we signed Lamar. So we get Odell Beckham Jr., then we sign Lamar, and then we draft Zay Flowers.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens stock went up 0.83%. How is that real?
You know,
Are you kidding me?
Well, what he'll tell you, I'm sure what he'll tell you is it's just based on the market, Jimbo.
Well, he's like, yeah, well, the market already factored that in. I'm like, get the heck out of here, dude. 0.8, so not even 1%. Lamar Jackson and Zay Flowers didn't even impact the stock 1%?
Dude, I got to check that out, though, because I got on the O's when they were at their worst.
Yeah, you bought those because it was the cheapest stock on there.
Literally of any team, of any sport. And I bought all as much as I could. So I got to check that again.
I still own half of the Ravens stock in the entire stock market for symbol.
Dude, it's about to go.
Yeah.
It's looking good. But
anyway,
yeah.
I was pretty angry about that one.
Let's see. DK looks like he's got something here. Okay, it's just Quan says, what's one primetime game you want for sure?
I want the Bengals, bro.
100%.
I want the Bengals again.
I want the Bengals every year until Joe Burrow's not there anymore.
Yes.
Bring them on. And guess what? Who else we playing?
You know, it's crazy. I would be okay with all of our intra-division teams on a prime time. Like, of course, I'd love to see Pittsburgh prime time. I'd love to see, Deshaun Watson prime time just getting shellacked by the Ravens.
Yeah, but I don't even want to give him any screen. I don't want him getting any national game. I tell you what, selfishly, the Niners would be cool.
Yeah, the Colts would be fun too.
Colts would be fun. I tell you, I would love, I don't know why, but I would love to see the Ravens just destroy the Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray. I want to see Kyler Murray get folded in half. He just drives me. I don't know what it is about Kyler Murray. I think it's his arrogance, his cockiness, the fact that I don't think he should be that either. I don't think he should be either of those things. He's, as far as the fact that I hear that Arizona is not even sold on him. They just signed him to that big contract. You better be sold on him. You got to give him $189 million.
Well, and then their GM took a leave of absence.
Yeah, they're an absolute disaster. And so, yeah, I'd love to play the Cardinals. But in all seriousness, I'm with you, Jimbo. The Bengals is where the list starts.
Yep. Yeah, I agree 100%. And it would be fun just to see the dynamic of two extremely athletic quarterbacks like Richardson and Lamar going at it.
Yeah.
As far as it being an electrifying and an entertaining game. I don't know how entertaining it would be for Colts fans because it's going to be lopsided, but ultimately I think, it has potential there.
Yeah, I think that would be a fun game to watch, those two quarterbacks going at it. Connor says, who's the favorite for left guard? I think who's the favorite? I guess if I had to pick a favorite, Jimbo, I might go McCary as the favorite. But I think who they want it to be is Faalele. What do you think? Just because of how he moves, he's so big.
Wait, you said they want it to be Faalele, but who's your guy?
McCary.
Oh, that's interesting because I don't think it's either.
You think it's
Cleveland?
I
think Coach wants it to be Cleveland. I think Moncton wants it to be Cleveland. I think he still wants McCary to be the jack of all trades, be the sixth guy.
Mm-hmm.
And And I think that Falele's path forward is understudying Morgan Moses and moving into the right tackle spot in the following year.
But Ben Cleveland just can't move.
He can't stay healthy. That to me is the thing.
And healthy. I mean,
if he can stay healthy, I feel like, once he gets his paws on you, but Monkton's got to have some familiarity with him. So he's got to stay healthy. I guess what I would say is between your two as a second option, I don't want to see Falele there. I don't want to see it. I'd rather see McCary there. I want them finally to say, hey, dude, you were drafted to play right tackle. You're going to develop as a right tackle and play right tackle when Morgan Moses leaves. Like, that's all I want you to be focused on because you are a puppy in football.
But see, I look at Voorhees as the starting left guard starting next season and beyond because he's a left guard. We could ask him to transition to right, but
no, that's fair.
But he's played an awful lot of left guard in his life and some left tackle.
So with that being the case, no, but that's exactly.
And Ben Cleveland is a more natural right guard. That's where he played in college. So maybe if you let McCary or Falele two-man the left guard spot, you don't because I think what you're doing with Cleveland is you keep trying to put him at left. He's a right. You keep trying to put him at left. You're stunting his growth. Just stick him at right and let him be a right.
Yeah, but so then he's not playing this year is what you're saying?
I don't think they want him to play this year because the only reason he's playing is because there's an injury. It's my opinion.
I don't know.
Where are you playing him? You're playing at left guard?
Who?
Cleveland. That's where he started?
Yeah, that's – I think that –
okay.
Yeah.
Now, look, Ben Powers came leaps and bounds, so I'm hoping I'm wrong on Ben Cleveland.
Right.
But I just don't think he's got the athleticism.
Yeah. I understand.
He's got the strength. He's got the size.
And DK is saying, why not Salah? Give him a shot at left guard.
That's a good point because he's got the athleticism.
Right. Let him get in there and fight. He can pull.
But maybe Falele's the left guard and Salah's the right guard the right tackle next year and going forward. Maybe they like Falele as the left guard.
That'll be interesting. I get the sense that they want Falele based on his length and size to be a tackle if they had to choose.
Oh, sure.
Ultimately.
So is Salah. He's huge.
Yeah, but not DK's like not as big as Falele. No one is as big.
Maybe not, but he's still 6'6" and with 35-inch long arms and
yeah.
You know.
That's a tough one. I think though. Oh, and we could make a bet on who ends up being starter day one. We already lost a bet, right? With the Stetson Bennett bet. You got to pay up on that one.
What was that bet?
We didn't determine. Yeah,
but what was the bet?
That he would go in the. I said fourth or above, and you said fifth or later.
I thought it was third or above, and I said fourth or later. We need to go back to the tape. What show was that we said that on?
I have no idea.
It can't be that long ago.
No. DK says he's gonna find it.
Yeah, DK, find it for me because I think you said third or earlier. I don't know.
Well, then fourth is what? No man's land? Wrong.
No, I said
because I'm pretty sure you said fifth.
Okay, all right.
So if it's fourth, then what?
Look, the truth's going to come out. That's the beauty of it. It's on film.
It's the beauty of it.
And so right now, what's going to be the wager? Did we even come up with a wager?
No, but you're going to have to do something embarrassing.
Okay, that's fair. I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that. But yeah, I am. As the more I look into this draft class, Jimbo, because at first Trenton Simpson was like, it was a bit of a head scratcher. I called it underwhelming because I didn't think there was a need. So why, I consider the Ravens 2 linebackers right now to be, if not the best, then certainly top 3 pairing in the league. But after, having John on, if you guys are joining late, click back to the 8:30 mark or the half hour mark, I guess it would be, because that's made me feel a lot more. It gave me a lot more understanding as to why they brought that guy in. So let's hope that when we keep bringing guys in, which we're gonna be hammering it out and trying to get guys in, that we gain even further understanding on all their draft picks.
100%, and I'm so excited to keep digging into it. I can't wait to get more guys on or gals, people that cover the teams and get to know these players. Because, it immediately clicked with John, right? It's like, oh, now I get it. Because he was explaining the tape, and it's like, ding, you know what I mean? And we kind of hinted to that based on athleticism, but to hear it from the horse's mouth, for lack of a better term, was validation for us for sure. So, and I'll tell you what, it's going to be exciting to look back at this draft class. You know, it would be really cool. Once again, not disregarding the guys in the middle, but it would be cool to say if your first pick and your 7th round pick made coinciding Pro Bowls at one point.
That'd be pretty dope.
Like, hang that up on your locker. You know what I mean? That's pretty cool. Anyway, I think that's all for us tonight, folks. I think it was a blast.
Yeah.
I think we talked about a lot. Some stuff that I think we're going to cover on Thursday is a few questions. One, did Lamar Jackson prove that you do not need an agent in this league? Could he have made more money? You know, did he lose money? We're going to address the wide receiver room, just like Glenn said. Is it unwarranted for people to still be attacking the Ravens on the wide receiver room? And much more getting to these draft picks. So make sure you guys always have your notifications on. Hit that subscribe button if you're watching and not subscribed. But that is it for us tonight.
It was a good one.
Have a good night.
Talk soon. See you.